Okay, let's just jump right in. What if you could build a social network that you and your users actually owned? Well, today we're going to lay out the 2025 blueprint for how to do exactly that.
I mean, think about it. For years, we've just been, users on platforms owned by these massive corporations. But what if you could flip that entire model on its head? What if you could go from just a user to the actual architect of your very own digital community?
So here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to walk through the whole 5-part journey. We'll kick things off with the big ideas behind it all, then get into the strategic blueprint, the tools you'll use to build, how to make it secure, and finally, how to actually grow your new digital nation.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Before we even think about building anything, we got to get our heads around the massive shift in tech that makes all this possible. And that big idea? It's decentralization. It's a whole new way of thinking, right? The power is spread out among the users, not locked up with one single company. And the key concept that's really powering this whole revolution is something called Social Network as a Service, or SNAS for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like Shopify for social networks, you know? A platform like Linkspreed gives you all the back-end tools, all the infrastructure, so you can just focus on the fun part, building out your community's unique vision. All right, now let's talk about what is, without a doubt, the most critical part of this entire process, and that's your strategic blueprint. Seriously, this is where it all starts. It happens way before you even think about touching a single line of code. Your blueprint really needs to stand on 4 solid pillars. First up, a hyper-specific audience. I'm not talking artists, that's too broad. Think more like digital artists who need to prove the origin of their work. See the difference? Next, you need a unique reason why decentralization is the answer. For those artists, it's a no-brainer, using the blockchain to verify authenticity. Third, you've got to define the user experience from day one. Is it all about quick short-form videos, or is it a space for deep, thoughtful discussions? And finally, you have to plan out your tokenomics. What's your token for? Maybe it's for voting on new features, or maybe it's how people buy exclusive content. You know, there's this great quote that says, a community's vision statement is its first line of code. And that just nails it, doesn't it? Your vision isn't just some fluffy mission statement. It is the first line of code for your network. It's the foundation that everything else is built on. So, what does that unique selling proposition actually look like in practice? Well, for example, a huge one is tokenized governance. This is where your users get to vote on the rules of the platform using a DAO. That's a decentralized autonomous organization. Just think of it like a digital member-owned co-op. Another big one is true data sovereignty. This means user content gets stored on a distributed network like IPFS, which basically guarantees they own their data forever. Or hey, maybe your unique thing is an exclusive feature that's only possible on-chain, something like a built-in escrow service for super secure transactions between your members. Okay, let's get to the fun part, the build phase. We're talking about using what some people are calling Web 4 tools, and all that really means is you're mashing up the decentralized ownership of Web 3 with smart, AI-driven systems. And you're about to see how these tools have made it easier than ever before to take that blueprint and turn it into a real, living, breathing thing. So the actual technical journey is broken down into 4 pretty straightforward stages. First, you establish your identity. Then you configure everything with a little help from AI. After that, you deploy the network. And finally, you get to customize the whole experience. Now, here's where things get really cool. A key innovation is using AI to speed up the whole setup process. I mean, you can literally take that detailed vision statement you wrote in the planning phase, feed it right into the system, and the AI just gets to work. It'll propose design themes, suggest color schemes, spit out boilerplate code for your governance rules. It can even draft moderation policies based on your values. This is a huge deal. It can save you hundreds of hours right at the start. Okay, this right here gets to the absolute heart of why this is all so different. On the left, you've got the old model, right? Your data lives on a company's server. They can sell it, they can censor it, they can delete it whenever they want. But then you look over on the right, at the new model. Your content is stored on a decentralized network. And that means you and your users, and not some corporation, are the ones who truly own and control your data. It is a complete and total game changer. All right, let's talk about a step that you absolutely positively cannot, I repeat, cannot skip. And that's security. Look, in a decentralized world where the code is literally the law, security isn't just another feature on a list. It is the fundamental promise you are making to every single person who joins your network.
So, before you even dream of hitting that launch button, your network has to go through a serious gauntlet of tests. You got to put it through its paces. You start with the basics, right? Functional and UX testing. Does the post button work? Does the site look right on a phone? Then you crank it up with stress testing. What happens when 10,000 people try to log in at the exact same time? Does the whole thing just fall over? And finally, you've got the private beta. This is where your first real users jump in and give you honest feedback. You find out if you actually built something people love to use. Now look, the automated tools you'll use and all your own internal testing, they're incredibly powerful. They're going to catch the vast majority of potential problems, probably something like 99% of them.
But it's that final 1% where the real danger is hiding. And that, right there, is why a third-party smart contract audit isn't just a good idea, it is completely non-negotiable. You have to get outside experts, fresh eyes, to comb through every single line of your code. Why? Because one tiny mistake, one overlooked bug, can be absolutely catastrophic. And in this world, it can be permanent.
So you've done it. You've launched your network. Amazing. But guess what? The real work is just getting started. Your launch day, that's not the finish line. It's the starting pistol. Now comes the real challenge and the real fun, nurturing and growing a living, breathing digital nation.
And growing in this new world, it takes a totally different mindset. The old playbook just doesn't work. So instead of buying targeted ads, you do targeted airdrops, giving tokens to people who are already contributing in similar spaces. Instead of just chasing viral content to keep people engaged, you get them involved in governance, letting them actually have a say in the future of the platform. And the incentives, they change completely. We're not talking about simple points and badges anymore. We're talking about real ownership, staking rewards, and tokens for adding value.
So, what's the secret sauce for long-term success? It really comes down to 3 things you've got to do constantly. First, you have to reward your pioneers, those first people who showed up and helped build the culture. Second, you got to actively manage that governance system. Make sure it's working, that it's responsive. And third, you have to keep evolving. You use that very same governance system to let the community vote on and roll out new features. It becomes this awesome, continuous loop of improvement, all driven by the users themselves.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. Because the real power here isn't just in the code or the tech. It's in the vision that guides it all. So, I want to leave you with this question. If you were going to build your own digital nation, what would its founding principle be? What kind of community would you create? The tools are out there. And the blueprint? Well, it's in your hands now.